Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirannasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Mukha karoti vachalam pangoram gayate girim Yat kripatamaham mande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Namom Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Jayapataka Swami Niti Namane Namacharya Padaya Nitai Kripa Pradayane Gaurakata Damadaya Nagar Grama Tarine Namom Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I'd like to recite a prayer written by Srila Jiva Goswami. He prays to the Gopis. Artaika sharanam Krishna artim brajajanam sthitam tam shraddhasvakam bhavam arche vande durashaya. The meaning of this prayer is that the shelter of this hopeless heart is only one, and that's Krishna. And only shelter for the suffering Brajabasis who are suffering separation from Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is in our hearts, but in the hearts of the Gopis. And Jiva Goswami says, Archa Vande Durashaya. He says that he offers his respects to Uddhava, who is able to alleviate the sufferings of the Brajvasis. So let us offer our respectful obeisances, Sri Uddhava, and with an open heart, with an open mind, try to appreciate this beautiful gift of Krishna consciousness that we have received due to the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we'll start with shloka. Before that, see Srimad Bhagavatam, every shloka, every word, every prati shloke, prati akshare, every shloka, every word has multi-dimensional meanings. So there's always a direct meaning of what the verse is saying, and then there is an indirect meaning and the hidden meaning of the verses. So I would like to share the 10th canto, chapter 47 and text 43. See, there are different types of Gitas, okay? There are so many Gitas. There's Bhagavad Gita, there is Uddhava Gita, there is Avadhuta Gita, there is Bhishma Gita, there is Brahmara Gita. So this chapter 47 of Srimad Bhagavatam is the famous Brahmara Gita, which is the most confidential. Gita is for the advancement of the mind, whereas the Brahmara Gita is actually meant for rasa level. It's when those of us who are in the level of wanting to have a personal relationship with Krishna. Gita is spoken for everyone, whereas, to understand Uddhava Gita and to understand Brahmara Gita is another level. So I will be quoting some instances or some lessons from Uddhava Gita as well. But today we will focus on the reply of the Gopis, because the last time I spoke, I gave a talk on Uddhava going to Vrindavan, arriving in Vrindavan, and he was giving a message to the Gopis. And Krishna told Uddhava, repeat, tell the message again and again and again. And I found that relevant. We sometimes hear Bhagavatam classes, we hear about Putana, we hear about Trinavarta, we hear about Damodara Leela, we hear about Krishna's birth, Krishna playing with the Gopa boys, and Brahma and the Indra. We hear these pastimes again and again. Sometimes we wonder, why do I have to hear it again and again? So Srimad Bhagavatam recommends that we need to constantly, repeatedly hear the pastimes, because there are layers and layers and layers of conditioning. And every time we are hearing and these pastimes are Navayauvanam, they are always ever fresh, just like Krishna, because Krishna is Navayauvanam. Even his Leelas, even his Nama, Rupa, and Leelas, they are also ever fresh. So we constantly unveiling our ignorance and discovering that inner taste for Krishna consciousness. Okay. Kim nisha smarati yashu tada priyabhir vrindavane kumudakunda shashankaramye reme kvanaccharananupurarasa goshyam asmabhiridita manognya kata kadachit. Can I have a volunteer to read the translation and the purport? It's beautiful. Anybody? Anybody likes to read the translation?
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yes, Trikaya, you want to read? Please go ahead.
Yes. Can I?
Yeah.
Okay. Does he recall those nights in the Vrindavan forest, lovely with lotus, jasmine, and the bright moon? As we glorified his charming pastimes, he enjoyed with us his beloved girlfriends in the circle of the Rasa dance, which resounded with the music of ankle bells.
So this, just pause. This is the Gopis speaking to Uddhava. What we can actually see is that in the previous text, so far, the whole 47 chapter is the reply of the Gopis. It's a whole mood there, and it's completely extreme emotions. In the beginning, the Gopis are like, oh my God, this chariot from Mathura is here. Is it like, who is this? Because first time the chariot came, Akrura took away Krishna and Balaram. And now when they see Uddhava, they're like, what are you doing here? Akrura came and took away Krishna. Now are you here to take away our memories about Krishna? So they're really like anxious. And then as they start to blame, and then they glorify Krishna, and they express the separation from Krishna, and then they're also expressing anger towards Krishna, and then they're cursing Krishna. If he doesn't care about, why should we care about him? And then they're being like heavy with Uddhava, but then slowly, like in text 42, they slowly become, see, they call him sadhu. So they actually call him saintly one. And does Govinda ever remember us during conversations with the city women? Does he ever mention us, village girls, as he freely talks to them? So then a gopi slowly soften, and they become more and more open about their feelings to Uddhava. They start opening their hearts. They start revealing the madness of emotions that they are completely overwhelmed with, because they are experiencing an array of emotions which is impossible for anybody of this material world to explain or understand, and what to speak of experiencing, because even the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna Paramatma, wanted to experience the emotions of the gopis, and he could not comprehend it, and he wanted to come as Gauranga Mahaprabhu. So in this whole chapter, what we see is basically the standard of love of the gopis for which Gauranga appeared, because he wanted to experience that, relish that emotion. And it's the total madness. There is complete madness, complete. And now we will see the height of that madness, but in the most purest, most transcendental way. Okay. And this purport here is very important, especially this part. It really blew my mind, and it changed my whole perspective about Rasa Leela. It changed my whole perspective about the attachment to the gopis towards Krishna, and their deep and deep and unconditional love for Krishna. What does it actually mean? Okay, so I'll just quickly summarize this part here. Basically, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is explaining how the gopis realize that Vrindavan is the only place where there is everything that very dear to Krishna is. All those scented flowers, all those exactly flowers that Krishna enjoys, and the full moon night by the Yamuna. This is not possible in Mathura. It's just not possible anywhere in the entire world. And they understand that. And also they are in these verses, I don't know, let me go back and show you the whole chapter just to kind of give you the idea. So this chapter is called the Song of the Bee. So that's why it's called Brahmara Gita in Sanskrit. So when the gopis start expressing, oh, Krishna must have, forgotten us, he gets everything. He got very cultured ladies from Mathura, and he doesn't really, they're saying the women in Mathura, they're very expert at conjugal relationships. And then actually, that's the direct meaning. But the indirect meaning is to say that they're not. And why? Because in this purport, as we will read in a second, so all these questions the gopis are asking, oh, gentle Uddhava, is the brother of Gadana bestowing on the city women the pleasure that actually belongs to us? We suppose those ladies worship him with generous glances full of affectionate, shy smiles. And then they ask, also, does he remember us? See, this is love, okay? This is basically basic love that we all can understand. Let's say we go away, far away to study somewhere, and we do wonder if our parents think about us, right? I mean, right now you may not realize so much when you're living with your parents. You may say, oh, no, I don't miss them, they don't miss me. But when you do, say, get married and go away, or go and study far away in a university, you do wonder, do my parents think about me? Do they talk about me? Same thing with best friends. Do they think about me? Same thing with what to speak of lovers, right? We're always expecting them to message us, or love meaning a conjugal relationship, husband and wife. We are always expecting, oh, did my husband message me? Did my wife message me? So there's always a constant eagerness, because when we love somebody, then we are interested to know if the other person is thinking about us. But what gets very interesting is this verse. Actually, this verse is the verse that actually reveals that switch, for the gopis, that they switch how they're opening their hearts to Krishna, and from here onwards, in these verses onwards. So okay, I'll tell you what was the most touching point. I mean, it's mind-blowing what all they bring up. Gopis, they speak about the prostitute, and they are saying that they're saying things which are completely contradictory in different directions, yet they all make sense. Okay, this one. So let me read the purport point that really shifted my focus. The gopis rendered intimate service to Krishna that only they could perfect. Okay, so they were actually worried that the women in Mathura, they don't know how to speak in a multidimensional way, because when gopis speak, they speak in multidimensional way. When the Mathura Vasis speak, they speak in single dimension. But for the Brajvasis, their language, their ways of expression is always multidimensional. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Atmavan Manyate Jagat. But here, Krishna actually already declared to the gopis that I can't repay you. I can't repay your love. So that Atmavan, I'm sorry, it's not Atmavan Maniti Jagat. That's another point. Yeyathamam prapadyante. Krishna actually says that I reciprocate. According to how the devotees surrender to me, I reciprocate. But the way gopis have surrendered to Krishna, Krishna says it's impossible for me to reciprocate. There's no way I can reciprocate to your love. Krishna just completely surrenders to the love of the gopis. And the point about Atmavan Manite Jagat is coming. Because their service to Krishna is so clear, and they know what Krishna likes, and they know how to please Krishna. Thus, the gopis were distraught to think that Lord Krishna was bereft of Vrindavan and bereft of their service. It's not about them here. It's not that, oh, I miss my friend because I could enjoy with my friend. Oh, I miss my lover because, when say some people, have their husbands or somebody gone to war, they feel sense of separation because the person is not there with them to feel that and emotions of pleasure and enjoyment. But in the case of gopis, what is being revealed to Uddhava is that they don't even care about themselves. And the proof is that if they really missed Krishna and they just wanted to see Krishna, and if that was the point, the central point, they could have just gone to Mathura. It's just a few hours. They could have just walked to Mathura. In fact, Radhanand Maharaj often would arrive in Mathura railway station and he will walk to Vrindavan. And or if the gopis felt tired to walk, they could have just taken a cart and gone. So the proof of the fact that the gopis' central theme is not, oh, I want to see Krishna, I want to be with Krishna, was not the point. Their source of misery was that there was not even one person from Braja in Mathura who knows how to serve Krishna, who knows how to make the garlands the way Brajvasis make. Because they're so filled with that devotion, and they have experienced the fulfillment and satisfaction of Krishna, that they are afraid of the fact that Krishna may not be experiencing this. And as mundane people think, oh, it's material lust that they were experiencing, our acharyas very clearly explain why it's not material lust. It's coming there. Free of all material lust, they were overwhelmed with disappointment because they could not give Krishna happiness by their loving service. They simply could not imagine Krishna enjoying anywhere else as he did in Vrindavan in their company. So they were so convinced, they knew what Krishna likes and they know what Krishna doesn't like. So they're actually in agony that, oh my God, Krishna is not getting everything. He's not happy there. He's not getting everything. At the same time, when they're expressing to Uddhava, they're also expressing, saying, Krishna's nature is, he's very kind. He's a sadhu. He's a very soft-hearted individual. So when the Mathura Vasi women will serve him, he will become pleased even with that service and he will serve them in return. It's bound to happen. The gopis are, they know the heart of the Lord, especially Srimati Radharani. But knowing Krishna is one thing. But what Srimad Bhagavatam reveals in the next verses is also about, one second, I'm just showing you that verse. I mean, they go on about so many points here about him marrying all these princesses and how does he has no need for any women. He has goddess of fortune. And then, okay, this prostitute point is very, very important here. So there is a story which is very relevant, okay? There was a lady who had this husband. You must have heard Prabhupada quotes this story as well. She was so well known for chastity that her husband was a lusty type, although he was a leper. And he was really in a bad condition. He couldn't even walk. But for her, she considered him, let me stop sharing this. So she considered this man to be her everything. She didn't care that he was a leper. She didn't care he was lusty. She really wanted to please him. By the way, in Indian culture, we have so many women with great examples of chastity that they were able to perform such kind of feats, like do anything for the sake of the husband and with no resentment, with the open heart. So those were the women who were considered to be like, wow, they're so dedicated to their husband, right? So she takes the husband on her shoulder, because this man wanted to be with a prostitute. So she takes a husband on her shoulder, a leper husband, and brings the man to the prostitute. And she doesn't even have money to pay. So she decides to serve this prostitute. And when this prostitute is pleased, then she's requesting him to serve her, to be with her husband. So this story, Prabhupada also quotes about it to declare that level of determination, that level of dedication, that which even on a mundane level we say, what, right? Like, how is it possible? Because one thing is when the husband dies, which does happen. Like, if you know the whole story with there was a woman whose husband got cursed by a rishi, by a sage, saying that by tomorrow morning sunrise your husband is going to die. And this woman was so chaste that she was able to use her powers of chastity, and she stopped sunrise from happening. And all the demigods were freaking out. Oh my God, sun is not rising. What's happening? What's happening? And then finally they were all ha-ha-kara. Everything was going crazy in the universe, complete disbalance. Then finally they go to Anasuya, because she's another super chaste woman, and they request her, please, sun is not rising because of this woman. Can you please go and do something? So Anasuya comes and talks to this lady and says, please, everything is stuck. Please, can you let the sun rise? And the woman says, no, sorry, my husband's life is more important. And the husband would be old and, like not like a Superman or anything. The husband's an old guy. And then Anasuya convinces her by saying that, look, I will use my chastity and bring your husband back to life. Let the sun rise, let your husband die, but I will use my chastity and I will bring your husband back to life, and I will make him young even. So then finally, the whole story, long story short, Anasuya does help this woman bring the husband back to life. So my point is, even on the very mundane level of women who are so dedicated to the husband, they don't want the husband to die, and they will cry because of the separation from the husband, right? And then they are able to use their chastity to stop the sun, and they can use their chastity to bring back a dead man alive, and all that just with that chastity. And what is that? What is the element of the chastity? It's, that one level is that the chastity is so powerful. Another level, what it means is, like I explained about this lady who took her husband to the prostitute. It explains that you're so focused on the person that you love that you are ready to inconvenience your own feelings. Okay, that's the level. Even on a mundane level, we appreciate it, right? Oh, we call people like Mahatma Gandhi or something, because they gave up their own personal interests, needs, in order for thinking something big. But the love of the gopis goes way, 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 way beyond that. Because when the gopis start expressing these emotions, mat prananatastu sa eva naparaha, so ashlishyava padaratam vinastuma madarshanam. This is basically Gauranga Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself in the mood of Srimati Radharani in the Antya Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita. The chapter is called Shikshashtakam, and that's the last chapter of the Chaitanya Charitamrita and Antya Leela as well. And in that chapter, when the whole explanation is given, that this verses, especially this verse Ashlishyava Padaratam, is an exact perfect reflection of these verses of the 47th chapter, because this is exactly the mood of Srimati Radharani, that whether Krishna wants to trample me, he wants to leave me and go away, he wants to go with somebody else and enjoy, it doesn't matter, he's still the Lord of my heart. And what kind of love, other than the love of the gopis, that can actually reveal this level of love? And that's why Krishna got so attracted and fascinated, and he wanted to relish that. So when he wanted to relish that, he didn't come alone. Because if Srimati Radharani has to experience separation, she can't come alone. She has to come with her Sakhis. Oh my God, these verses are like so mind-blowing. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, He Sakhi Re. So Mahaprabhu sings these songs to Swarup Damodar. Just bring out this verse. So Swarup Damodar and Ramananda Rai, both of them are not ordinary personalities. Ramananda Rai is Lalita Sakhi and Swarup Damodar is Vishaka Sakhi. So Mahaprabhu, Radharani, mood of Radharani, she can only completely experience the separation when she can discuss this with her girlfriends. So they also descend in this way. And in fact, one of the reasons that Krishna sends Uddhava to Vrindavan is because he doesn't have anybody to discuss these topics in Mathura. So if Uddhava will go there and he will actually witness the love of the gopis, and then he will be able to have some solace of discussing these topics, because just like the gopis are suspecting and not suspecting, they are sure about it. They're so much madly worried and they're madly and great. The source of their suffering is that Krishna is not able to enjoy. They are right. It is rightfully so. He didn't go back because he had other purposes. He still had Jarasandha and Shishupala and all those demons. Still, he needed to tackle them. So he had to stay back. But it's true what the gopis are saying. If the gopis are feeling like this, how Krishna must be feeling. So the verse is coming. Suno mora sakhi re, suno mora mone nishchaya. So this is Gaurang Mahaprabhu. He is actually expressing to Ramananda Rai and Sarup Damodar that suno mora moner nishchay. Please listen to me, oh Sakhi, friend. In the translation there is friend, but we know the internal meaning, how it's actually Srimati Radharani talking to the Sakhis. And in fact, the verses begin like that. Kiba anuraga kore, kiba dukha diya more. Whether Krishna will give us, whether I feel affection from Krishna or whether I will be filled with extreme misery, my affection for Krishna will never reduce because he is my Praneshwar. So these are the dealings which is going on between Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Rai and Swarup Damodar. So this is real love. So there is the indirect learning in these verses is that the union in separation is Vipralamba Agni. So Krishna actually created this situation. Some people we may think, I was thinking also, why did Krishna punish the gopis that he loves so much? Nobody ever can love. Even the very definition of love is Radharani, because the way she can love Krishna. And then the question does come to the human mind, why did Krishna leave Radharani? And why did Krishna leave the gopis? And why did he make them suffer so much? And the affection that they are experiencing, why he's not reciprocating? But the acharyas reveal that Krishna's purposes are several. He achieves many purposes in one action. So one of the purposes is to glorify the devotees immensely. So he wants the love of the gopis to be actually seen by Uddhava, seen by everybody. So therefore, one of the reasons is that Krishna allows, it's also in the case of Prabhupada, in the case of great acharyas, great devotees, he performs all these leelas so that the devotee can be glorified. So, and Mahaprabhu, he says in the Antya Leela, this is Gaura Ganodesha Deepika, and Krishnadas Kaviraj explains how the connection between this 47 chapter where the gopis are saying, oh, the women of Mathura, they are able to, they know how to cook, and they know how to make garlands, and they must have now, I mean, they are actually meaning to say there's not even one person from Vrindavan who knows that. How they will know? They're actually meaning to say that. But they're saying, and then Mahaprabhu, on the other hand, he's saying, I mean, Krishnadas Kaviraj explains that Mahaprabhu's feelings are, he's saying, prema hina, prema gandha hina. Mahaprabhu is saying, I have no love. He's saying, I have no love. I don't even have a fragrance of love. I don't have it. And so my Guru Maharaj often says about this, when we are unable to cry for Krishna, oh, Krishna is going away from our sight. If we are unable to cry that, oh, I'm going to go away from Radha Madhava now. If I'm unable to cry, then at least I must realize that I should cry, that I'm unable to cry for Krishna. Gauranga Mahaprabhu came and he opened a treasure house of love for all of us to experience. He had two purposes to come. One was internal and one is external. His internal purpose was to relish this emotion. How can this deep suffering be the actual ecstatic transcendental feeling? How is it possible? Now you may think how is it pleasurable? The point in love is not pleasure. The love is so beyond pleasure. And still we sometimes sit there and think of trivial things and waste our lifetime instead of actually looking at Gauranga. I come from a Brahmin Madhva family, okay? This is like a personal disclosure. I must express that when I read Krishnadas Kaviraj, when I read Jiva Goswami, when I see the dealings of Mahaprabhu, I actually feel pity for many Indian people, many like these Brahmanas, Marthas. I come from Madhva background. They're very Madhvas, are very prideful type of people because they know the Upanishads, they know the Vedas, they know the Shastra, they know Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. They are very, very scholarly and knowledgeable in many, several ways. But they don't know this Chaitanya Charitamrita. They don't have Krishnadas Kaviraj, the lineage from Madhavendra Puri. Madhavendra Puri was Madhva. And then after Madhavendra Puri, the line, the disciplic succession branches out. And so Suvarna Varano Hemango Varangas Chandanangadihi Viraha Vishama Shurya Gritashila Chalaschalaha. And also there are two verses in Vishnu Sahasranam which describes how there is going to be a golden incarnation who will appear to experience these transcendental mellows. And then when he will experience, he will have he'll be the only incarnation who will take sannyas. Sannyasa krichama shanto nishta shanti parayanam shubhanga shanti dasrashta kumuda kuvaleshayaha. I actually prepared a PowerPoint and I completely forgot to show it to you all because I'm not even able to. Okay, let me quickly take you over this. So in these verses, it's very, very clear that Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. And this verses that we're reading, the one I also read, the prayer of Jiva Goswami, these are all proofs about the fact that this particular chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam is the root cause of Srimati Radharani becoming a mendicant. The emotions that she was experiencing in separation from Krishna turns her into becoming a mendicant. And that mendicant is Gauranga Mahaprabhu, is Lord Chaitanya. So, like I was saying earlier, the standard of love that brought Gauranga is this of Krishna, of the Gopis being more worried for Krishna's pleasure more than they themselves enjoying. It's not sense gratification. And how Gauranga Mahaprabhu comes with his associates. We studied in the Bhagavatam earlier, we studied how Brahmaji also comes as Haridas Thakur because he gets tired of the Brahma role. He says, oh my God, this pride always makes me do some mistake. Next time, my dear Lord, let me come as nobody. I don't want to be Brahma anymore, please. So when he requests like that, and then finally Mahaprabhu grants him the wish and he's born as Haridas Thakur. And he went through so many austerities. So to get to get into this, to get this knowledge, to get this glimpse of this. Even great demigods don't have this opportunity. And as I'm telling you, even the greatest pandits or different sampradayas who have all the knowledge and they've memorized all the Vedantas and Upanishads and everything, they don't know these secrets about Mahaprabhu. And we are all so fortunate. Such fallen conditioned souls we are in Kali Yuga. Manda Sumanda Matayo Manda Bhagya Hi Upadrita. We have dysfunctional families, we have bad habits, we've done all kinds of nonsense. But Gauranga Mahaprabhu's mercy is giving us this chance of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srimad Bhagavatam. How would we even have any luck with that if it was not for Srila Prabhupada, if it was not for our Gurudevs, if it was not for the Vaishnavas who are saving us? What will be our fate? When Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was saying, when if there is a flood and he has Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita, and if in a flood you have to drop away something, and you can only carry one, he says, I will drop away Bhagavad Gita, I'll drop away Srimad Bhagavatam, but I will keep Chaitanya Charitamrita. Chaitanya Charitamrita is that powerful. And yeah, we can't even imagine how fortunate we are. Somehow we became so fortunate because of the mercy of Guru and causeless mercy. It's causeless mercy. And when Mahaprabhu is saying, in the mood of Gopis, he's saying that I'm not counting about my miseries. Mahaprabhu speaks like that. I'm not counting my miseries. He's explaining, my goal is to please Krishna. My goal is to please Guru and Krishna. This is Krishnadas Kaviraj who explains that. Beautiful verses are there in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Okay, let's see. I have so many points here, so I don't know where to begin and where to end. But anybody has any questions? Oh, one last thing I say, and then we can go for questions. This Vipralamba Agni. So I was saying, why Krishna? Why does it say Krishna? May he trample me? May he crush me? Why would Supreme Lord want to do that? Right? It's because he wants the devotees to be glorified. That's the answer, the question and the answer. And he causes that Vipralamba Agni because he wants to intensify the feelings of the gopis. And then he intensifies to such an extent that he himself comes to experience that Vipralamba Agni. Not only does that, he opens the treasure house of love of God for all of us to go. Okay, so that's my points, some points. Oof, I know it's just, I don't know how we got so lucky. I know people in my family who are so lost in other things. In the Madhva Sampradaya, we know who is the Bhavi Brahma, Bhavi Samira, who's going to be next Brahma, who's going to be next Vayu. It's all a line. It's like a queue. You have to get really qualified and do sadhana bhakti in specific way, and the archanam and vandanam and all the procedures, rituals needs to be done in the right way. And the only way you can go back to Godhead is by first becoming Brahma. That's the Madhva procedure, Madhva Sampradaya procedure. Only then. But I don't know how we got so lucky, really. We should, whatever happens, never ever leave association of devotees who are in the parampara. Never ever, because that's our saving grace. That's the only way we will be connected to Krishna and hold on to the the spiritual master and go back to Godhead. Okay, any questions, comments, realizations?
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you for the beautiful class. So I just wanted to know that in other sampradayas, they do not know about Chaitanya Charitamrita or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I'm just curious to know.
Some of them, by the way, you reminded me, Narottam Das Thakur, he says something really heavy. He says that whoever doesn't know Lord Nityananda is an animal. We have certain of these statements, some of our acharyas. some sampradayas, they have heard, they know, but they don't delve into it. They're not so fortunate. They're stuck on whatever. Veda, Vedanta, Upanishad. They're not able to actually appreciate Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's incarnation. First of all, he's Channa avatar, he's Gupta avatar. They're not supposed to be public. It's a very secretive thing. Even Prabhupada, I read one quote today. It says that even among Vaishnavas, Prabhupada says many of the Vaishnavas, they're actually smartas. They're not even actual Vaishnavas. Prabhupada says that. So sometimes we're not giving attention to this amazing revelation, I actually get goosebumps, as Snehavati was saying, when I'm reading these verses, like, wow, this is amazing. Exactly what the Gopis are saying, and Mahaprabhu speaking about the same way. He's expressing the same emotions. Like he's speaking in Bengali, and this Bhagavatam is in Sanskrit. And in Bhagavatam, it never says it's Radharani, right? Just says one of the gopis, as different gopis are speaking up. Never says Radharani. It's so secret. And somehow or another, we ended up with the most confidential of all rasas and most sweetest. So, sorry, coming back to your question, most of them worship Krishna in different rasa, like Aishwarya, Lakshmi, Narayan. So they don't want to delve into Parakiya rasa. They stick to the Swakiya. I remember I had a friend, she would say, I don't want to come to Krishna temple. Krishna has too many girlfriends. I remember that girl, she used to say like that. She says, I'll worship Lord Ram. And I would say, Rama is only Krishna. Krishna is only Rama. Why are you saying like that? But some people have a misunderstanding, but the love of the gopis is beyond. Can you imagine, when the gopis are saying, oh, if he's happy with the women of Mathura, very nice. We're very happy. But their source of misery is not that he may find happiness there. Their source of misery is that he may not find happiness there. That he may not get that complete sense of Vrindavan mood there.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah, we usually misunderstand because that's Atmavan Manyate Jagat. Krishna says that Atmavan Manyate Jagat means we think the world is like how we are, because our emotion of separation, like I said, husband died, the person will feel sad, right? But when the husband will go to another woman, the woman wants to kill the guy, isn't it? so we think that
Yeah.
our emotions, we think according to our emotions, but the gopis' emotions are ununderstandable. It's a different level. They are actually happy. Krishna will find happiness with other women, but their pain is that Krishna is not happy. That's their pain.
Wow.
I have a question at this point. How are they so convinced that their service is like nobody else can do the kind of service that they are doing? They're so convinced about it, and of course they do it. But it's just just coming to me question.
Maybe we can read some of those verses where that comes actually. See, this is all gopis are saying, indeed, the greatest happiness is to renounce all desires, as even the prostitute Pingala has declared, yet even though we know this, we cannot give up our hopes of attaining Krishna. I think we'll go back to this chapter and this and we'll see. See, first of all, Tarani Radha, it's not about the mental level conviction. I told you, this whole chapter is about the madness of the gopis' emotions. They love Krishna, they hate Krishna. Hate meaning, you know what I'm saying? Like they are upset with Krishna. At the same time, they are happy with Krishna if he finds happiness with other women. But then at the same time, they're lamenting that, oh, how can these other women give you happiness? It's inexplicable, Tarani Radha. If only I could answer your question with a paragraph, Gauranga Mahaprabhu would not appear. He appeared because he wanted to understand the answer to your question. Oh, I think my screen is not sharing.
Yeah, I think your answer was like beautiful. It's that madness, right? Now I'm understanding. I mean, not understanding, getting a peek into the understanding. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the mundane level of confidence in the sense, it's not about
Mhm.
the fact that they know intellectually that I know how Krishna likes the food and I like, it's not like that. It's an emotion of, see this thing, look at this. After making us drink the enchanting nectar of his lips, only once Krishna suddenly abandoned us, just as you might quickly abandon some flowers. How is it then that goddess Padma willingly serves his lotus feet? Alas, the answer must certainly be that her mind has been stolen away by his deceitful words. See, it's like what they are talking about is just unfathomable. And then, see, this is Srimati Radharani. Oh, B, why do you sing here so much about the Lord of the Yadus in front of us homeless people? These topics are old news to us. Better you sing about that friend of Arjuna in front of his new girlfriends, that burning desire in whose breasts he has now relieved. Those ladies will surely give you the charity you're begging. So, your question, it has a exactly contradictory answer in this chapter. They are completely devastated with the fact that Krishna is not with them. At the same time, our acharyas explain that the internal meaning of prati shloke, prati akshare, although the
Wow.
Gopis are saying that, oh, he doesn't care about us, he has found that, let him do that, let him do this. Deep inside, what they're thinking is, oh, Krishna is not enjoying Vrindavan. There is no Yamuna there in Mathura. Where is the full moon night? Where is they are actually internally experiencing. So the indirect meaning is what we're speaking of. The direct meaning, they're not looking secure at all. They're actually looking like women who's missing their lovers. But internally, when Uddhava hears it, that's when he realizes. And he asked, should I go and tell Krishna this? And Radharani says, no, don't hurt him. Say only what will make him pleased. Then Uddhava goes to Krishna and says, why did you leave these gopis? How could you leave them? They are so dedicated. They're so in love. And then Uddhava realizes what is this whole thing about. I mean, kind of realizes, I suppose.
What did he realize when he says to Krishna that, why did you leave such dedicated gopis? What is his realization? I don't understand the last part.
No, I said I don't know if exactly realizes, because after this will be the Uddhava Gita. 11th canto,
Yeah.
Uddhava Gita.
Exalted position, and then understands their exalted position, right? That is there.
Yeah.
But does he understand why Krishna leaves them? Does Krishna
He
answer that
asks,
question?
no, when he goes back, he'll ask all. 11th canto is full of that only.
What
All
does
kinds
Krishna
of
say?
questions he'll ask.
What does Krishna say? Why he left them?
I was
He just
saying, no, the
increased their love?
Vipralamba Agni. I don't know if that comes in 11th. I think it does come in 11th canto. The Vipralamba Agni. So, why does, like this is actually in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the answer is there. See, a lot of these questions will be answered in Chaitanya Leela, because that's where the whole mood gets manifested and it's explained there. So this, he says about, I mean, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's this explanation about Vipralamba Agni. Krishna does this to create this fire of separation, feeling of fire of separation. And he does it like when I said, how can you say that if you crush me and crumple me? Imagine, our husbands mistreat us for 2 minutes, how we feel. But here the Gopis are saying, you can leave me, you can abandon me, you can crush me, you can kill me, you're still the master. Matprananathas tu saheva naparaha. There's nobody else, it's you are the master of my heart. And so Gauranga, and what is that? So Gauranga Mahaprabhu is the personification of the separation of Krishna. Okay. Now, why he did it? There are several reasons, and one of the reasons that for me it was kind of exploring is this fact that he wants to glorify the devotees emotions. This thing comes to my mind, Krishna's headache, the famous story, Krishna's headache. When one time Krishna had a headache and Narad Muni was going everywhere to try to find a remedy. And the remedy was to get the dust of the feet of his devotees. And then he was going everywhere and asking everybody in Mathura, in Dwaraka, everywhere he was asking. And every queen in Dwarka refused. Oh, how can I give? He's my husband. He's Supreme Lord. And no devotee was willing to give. He went to the heavenly planets. No demigod was willing to give. Nobody. Finally, when he came to Vrindavan, he didn't even finish the statement. The Gopis just took the plate. They put the feet in. What are you standing in, wasting your time? Please go give it to Krishna for his cure. And then he asked you, are you not afraid of sinful reactions? I said, well, if Krishna has a headache, what can be more sinful than that? So for them, the emotion of Krishna's pleasure is so huge that everything else just becomes faded. Everything else is just unimportant. So why he does it is so we can talk about it. We're still talking about it, right? I mean, today in the Bhagavatam course, we were talking about Yudhishthir Maharaj becomes very shocked, this is 7th canto. He becomes very shocked and he asks Narad Muni, how is it possible that Jaya and Vijaya fell down from the spiritual world? And then there is a whole explanation about how Krishna causes that whole thing. He has a desire to fight. And you remember, we also read in our Bhagavatam classes, he has a desire to fight. And then who else can fight Krishna? Who can give him a good fight? Only greatest devotees. So he said, okay, Jaya Vijaya. So he orchestrated that pastime in such a way that he can have that good fight that he was looking for. And then, of course, meanwhile, he also glorifies the devotees in their actions. But the point I'm coming is here. There are categories. We can categorize. There are some people who are Nitya Siddhas or devotees who are eternally with Krishna, like Jaya and Vijaya. But then there are some purposes that the Lord wants to achieve. And due to that, they come to this material world to assist the Lord in certain pastimes so that the Lord can have his Leela. And then there are other demons and all that get their own purification, liberation. So where am I coming? The point was why Krishna does it. But this category is not anything about the demons, is not anything about that. This is something beyond Krishna's control. He said the ye yathamam prapadyante is out of question, because Krishna cannot reciprocate to the love of the gopis. So why he left the gopis is a question that only Mahaprabhu can answer, and only we'll find those answers in Chaitanya Leela, and we will only find how the Krishna Leela actually continues into Gaura Leela, and Sankirtan mission is the Rasa Leela that actually continues. So all the Sankirtan mission is part of that Krishna Leela, the intimate dealings and pastimes. So that's a continuation, and the reason for that is so that Mahaprabhu can experience and expand. And maybe one of the answers is so that we can be redeemed. Why he lets that happen is so that the continues, Krishna Leela continues further into Gaura Leela, and we are living that, the continuation of Gaura Leela. We are, our lives is also an extension. When we become devotees, our life is an extension of Chaitanya Leela, is Gaura Leela. Because if we are part of Mahaprabhu's movement, we are spreading holy name, we are doing Sankirtan, we are part of that. Because Mahaprabhu said, no, Prithvite Ache Jati Nagaradi Gram Sarvatra Prachar Hoibe Moranam. And that's not Gaura Leela, it is Gaura Leela. So we are part of Gaura Leela. So that's what I'm saying, like we should wake up and become more and more enthusiastic to be part of this mission. And allow the Lord to use us as an instrument, and experience his love that Mahaprabhu has, and open our hearts and take that, the mercy is overflowing, but we just need the hand to catch it. And that's just the willingness. So let's study Chaitanya Leela, and all the answers will be revealed.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much. And today when you're explaining, I mean, of course, you always heard that Charitamrita as like the postgraduate study, right, from Bhagavatam. But then the way you connected today, you're getting the answer for this question and that was like wow, so beautiful, very, very beautiful. Like, yeah, that connection is there, right? Like where Bhagavatam ends, Charitamrita begins. But then I think I've like heard many times the way it struck me today, the way you explain is like, wow, beautiful. Yeah, very, very beautiful. Thank you.
And these 3 points really, if you want to take away some main points. Point number 1 is Gopis are not missing Krishna for sense gratification. They're actually worried that Krishna is not enjoying fully. He's not happy. And the second point is that this Brahmara Gita, the 47th chapter of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, is the seed of Radharani's emotions of separation that went to such an extent that she becomes a mendicant. She takes on the mood of the mendicant. And then the third point is how this is the standard of love. This is the standard of love that actually Gauranga came to this world. These 3 points we should remember. It's
when you said that she became mendicant means what? I don't understand that part. The second point.
Radha Bhava Gaura, right? Gauranga Mahaprabhu takes sannyas. So Radharani who becomes a mendicant.
Gaura is Krishna only, right? I'm not able to.
And Krishna.
Radha Krishna together like that, you think?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought it inspired Krishna to become a mendicant. Like that, I was thinking all the time. Okay.
I mean, yes, that also because the mood shifts, right? Because when he enters in Gaura Leela, there's not that kind of conjugal pastimes. So he does become a mendicant. But the emotional thing I'm saying is her separation was so intense that Radharani becomes a mendicant. See, these are very, very esoteric topics to understand how Gaura is Radha and Krishna. And how when Ramananda Rai and Swarup Damodar come, they are Sakhis, and means in the mood of Radha, he's discussing with them, which means it's Radha and Lalita and Vishaka. You understand? I mean, these are very, very, how do you say, amazing topics to delve into, but very beautiful. And it's very, we need that Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena to understand these pastimes. We need to look at it with the lens, with the eyes anointed with love to be able to appreciate. And Gaura Leela reveals all that. And it's not just, and it's secret also. It's not like open for everyone. We are so fortunate. And even us now, like we are like now discussing like among friends, how much that means. So for Gaura, when Gauranga Mahaprabhu came, he needed that friends to express and experience emotion. I mean, Mahaprabhu's Leela was total madness also. You know that. Total madness. It's like the madness of the Gopis. It's the continuation.
Yeah, so beautiful, especially this point also. Like how he's explaining only with the intimate associates, right? He's expressing all this mood of separation and then also only they could understand that also, right?
Of course.
This principle, Preeti Lakshana thing, it kind of applies there also because he's just intimately opening, revealing his mind and all that happening there.
Yes. No, actually, is it Krishnadas Kaviraj or Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says about Guhyam Akhyati Prachati? What Mahaprabhu was revealing was that secret of the emotions. Cannot be understood by any Tom, Dick and Harry. Okay, I have a couple of points here. One is about absorption. Narad Muni, in this section, he actually thinks that demons are better. And there is a connection here about something I was not here, sorry, not in the 10th canto. in certain places, Narad Muni thinks, oh, demons are better because they have absorption in Krishna. Because demons are so focused on hating Krishna and being inimical to Krishna, towards Krishna, that Narad Muni starts to think like, oh my God, more than devotees, the demons are more intensely thinking of Krishna. So Krishna is very attracted to the emotions. So if we actually see many, many demons who are constantly absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, such as Shishupala, even before he could speak, he was insulting Krishna. He was from such a young age. And he was constantly, always, his life was dedicated to insulting Krishna and hating Krishna. But that intensity of his emotions for Krishna allowed him to merge into the body of Krishna. Look at that. So, like that, many of the demons who were intensely meditating on the Supreme Lord got amazing destinations. So it's better to, it's better, meaning any intense emotion, whether love or hatred, is better than being impersonalist or being not having any feelings and being indifferent to Krishna, whoever he is. I don't care about him. That's more dangerous. It's better to hate Krishna. I mean, it's not recommended, obviously. Not better to do anukulyana Krishna, no, better to do favorably, liking Krishna. But this point, Narad Muni thinks, oh my God, demons are better because they have more absorption in Krishna. And Srimati Radharani, she also has a mood that she brings a devotee to Krishna. If we approach Radharani and say, my dear Srimati Radharani, I really want to serve Krishna, I really want to, immediately she brings the devotee to Krishna and says, Krishna, this is a better devotee than me. Here, this person is there to serve you. So this is the mood, which is the highest mood, where you're so absorbed in pleasing the Lord that it's not anymore about, I want to serve. It's about being, service is more important, and pleasing the Lord is more important. So these things are very interesting. And then I forget what this is. I wrote Chaitanya Adi Leela 5205. Krishnadas Kaviraj says something. Maybe he brings up this point about Radharani, who brings the devotee because because she thinks they are better than her. So that's what attracts Radharani. If you're in the mood of service, and she brings and says, Krishna, here is a devotee. It's better than me, like that. Oh yeah. And then Uddhava Gita, there is this nice point I found. Yoga versus Bhoga, I wrote down like that notes. So basically the conclusion is that yoga means we do something for God. Like, for example, if I do a class here and I do it for the pleasure of the Lord, the pleasure of devotees, and I'm doing it in alignment to Krishna's will. It's not about me anymore. I like to say this, it's not about me. That's yoga. Yoga means there is tyaga. Tyaga means tyaga means literally sacrifice or austerity, like that. Means there is some tapasya, there is some sacrifice of it. So yoga means we do something without expecting something in return. I'm not trying to enjoy the results of it. It's not that I'm not attached to the result, but I'm not attached to enjoying the result. I'm able to give it to Krishna. And bhoga, bhoga means I think I want to enjoy it. I want people to appreciate me. Then it's gone. Then it's not yoga anymore. It becomes bhoga. And once it is bhoga, then roga is inevitable. Roga means disease. So that's the distance between yoga, bhoga, and roga. If we do not do yoga, we will be doing bhoga. And then if we do bhoga, we will end up with roga. What is that roga? The disease of material existence, material desires, never ending, always feeling anxious. So more and more, we complicate ourselves more and more. Krishna actually says that to Uddhava. What does he say? What's that verse? Let me see that. Pashan Paki Viparyayat. Krishna says to Uddhava that when we try to find a material solution to a material problem, we make that situation worse than before. Like that, he says. So it's like, for example, if we say, oh, I don't have a house. But then when you have a house, so many hundreds of problems, and the loan and the mortgage and everything. And one example in the Puranas is about crops, because traditionally people will grow agricultural crops and say your crops are attacked by certain bugs. So you bring some foreign bugs to eat these bugs who are trying to kill your crop. So you bring these foreign bugs, you put it, they eat up these bugs, very good, but then they eat up the good bugs also, and your agriculture fails. So this is an example of your problem gets worse than before. So similarly, Prabhupada actually concludes in 4.19.34. Prabhupada says that, don't let me read that verse for you. Or 1934. It's very relevant for us. I'm coming, Snehavati. I'll just read this quote and come to you. Oh. So Prabhupada says, sometimes the saintly or very religious person also has to meet with reversals in life. Such incidents should be taken as providential. Although there may be sufficient cause for being unhappy, one should avoid counteracting such reversals for the more we become implicated in rectifying such reversals, the more we enter into darkest regions of material anxiety. And Krishna also advises us in this connection that we should tolerate things instead of becoming agitated. This is basically that what Krishna tells Uddhava. In the 11th canto, it will come that point. Because, our mind is thinking of Rupam Dehi, Dhanam Dehi, Patim Dehi. We're thinking, oh, I want this, I want that, give me a sea, Om Jai Jagadisha Hare, give me a house by the sea. Even as devotees, sometimes we have some material desires. But then those material desires will entangle us more and more. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur suggests that Nija Dukkha. Actually, there is a couple of songs that comes to my mind. I think one is Bhaktivinoda Thakur and one is like Purandara Dasa. It says in life there must be little pleasure but more pain, so that we'll actually come to senses and live a life of reality where we progress. If we have too much pleasure and little bit pain, we'll not advance. I've seen that even as an astrologer. I've seen the charts of people. Those who have good karma, they don't progress much. They really get stuck. Some of them who have like some malefic planets like that, they progress. Too much positive planets like Venus, Jupiter makes a person very complacent, lazy. Oh, I have good husband, I have good children, and they kind of get stuck. They don't actually progress much. So it's actually a blessing in disguise. Okay. I'm ready to wind up. If anybody has anything last minute, because I have to bring the garlands to, it's raining. Maybe I should bring it tomorrow. It's raining and I finished making the garlands, but I need to still bring it. Anybody has any comments? Any blessings? Any prayers? We can pray to the lotus feet of Sri Gauranga, Sri Panchatattva, Srila Prabhupada, Gurudev, and the Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, to give us the strength to do Gaura's will, Gauranga Mahaprabhu's will, to be part of his mission, and to not waste this lifetime, but rather to align to his will, and to give up all these nasty anarthas and false prestige, false ego that prevents us from growing, and to become obedient to Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, and to surrender our lives at the lotus feet of a spiritual master, and to be part of this bigger mission. And may we be empowered to do Krishna's will. May we inspire others to align to Krishna's will and find love, peace, and harmony the way Krishna wants for them. And let us all become the best version of ourselves that Gauranga Mahaprabhu can use in his mission to wake up the sleeping souls and bring them eternal, blissful happiness. Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai, Jai, Hari Bol.
Yes, Snehavati Gandharvikam made a nice point in the comment box. I suggested you read it. Very, very true. Because she says the demons are accepting that Krishna exists and he's a person. That's why they can hate him. Impersonalists, so people don't even think of Krishna to be supreme person or to have any feeling towards him. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Impersonalism is very dangerous. Okay, Vaishnavis. See you tomorrow. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.